The bodybot is an eerie and perilous creature from Filipino mythology. It is the spirit of an old obese woman with long disheveled hair who resides in the ballots, which are large fig trees. The bodybot is generally a peaceful creature, unless her home tree is damaged or toppled by lumberjacks. If the tree is chopped down and used as a support pole for a house, the bodybot grows angry and vengeful, moving into the house's post or beam where its wood was used and harassing those who sleep nearby. The bodybot emerges from its hiding place at night in its monstrous, overweight form, weighing more than 120 kilograms and preceded by its foul odor. Its attack is physical and psychological at the same time. It sits on the victim's chest, putting them into sleep paralysis, a terrifying state in which they are conscious but cannot move or speak. As the victim lies helpless, the bodybot strikes with vivid nightmares, often riddled with death and suffocation scenes. If the victim is to escape the bodybot's clutches, they must act quickly. They should either bite their thumb or wiggle their toes, thereby breaking the sleep paralysis spell and waking them up. If, however, the victim cannot break the spell, they cannot be helped by others, as the bodybot is invisible to them, and the victim will succumb under the bodybot's weight and choke. The bodybot reminds us of how important it is to respect nature and its spirits, a cautionary tale against disturbing the natural world and causing harm to its inhabitants. Apparently, the Philippines is a land of numerous vampiric beings. They even have vampiric babies and children. Tiano is the vengeful spirit of an unbaptized or aborted child who is seeking revenge on those who have harmed or neglected him. His appearance is that of a baby with pale, sickly skin, deep-set glowing eyes, pointed claws, a long forked tongue, and a bulging stomach. His piercing, high-pitched scream is his hallmark, echoing through the night, luring innocent victims into his reach and destruction. The Tiano lurks in obscure and isolated places, such as forests, swamps, and derelict buildings. It often cries like a baby to draw attention to itself. As soon as the target approaches, the Tiano changes into its true form. Its angelic face writhes into a demonic mask. Its nails grow into sharp claws, and its teeth elongate into fangs. The tiny monster attacks its prey, sapping their blood and leaving them almost lifeless. The Tiano is especially feared for its ability to attack the most vulnerable in society, pregnant women and children. It targets them due to their natural innocence and purity, their life force serving as a powerful source of sustenance for the creature's insatiable hunger. A rosary or other religious object must always be carried to protect oneself from its attack. The creature is terrified of religious symbols. Alternatively, one should avoid traveling alone at night. The Tiano is more likely to attack people who are alone and vulnerable. Salt and garlic can also ward them off. Legends about the Tiano may vary from region to region, but in almost all cases, these monsters should be avoided at all costs, since an encounter with the creature can often be fatal. The Angete is a sort of Filipino folk centaur with a woman's upper body and a horse's lower body. She has a striking beauty, with long flowing hair and a fascinating gaze. Her presence is often matched by an ethereal glow, adding to her otherworldly charm. Legend has it that the Angete live in deep, secluded forests and hilly regions, far from the reach of humans. These hidden sanctuaries offer them solitude and protection, enabling them to live in harmony with nature. The Angete are clever and perceptive creatures with a deep understanding of the natural world. They also hold supernatural abilities, including the power to change shape and the ability to communicate with other animals. The Angete possess an acute allure for precious stones and treasures. They are especially attracted to diamonds, rubies, and emeralds, accumulating these prized items in their hidden layers. Some tales depict them as tricksters, using their seductive beauty to lure unwary travelers into their realms, only to swindle them and steal their valuables. Other tales, meanwhile, portray the Angete as gatekeepers to hidden treasures, protecting these assets from those who try to mine them for personal gain. They judge the intentions of those who enter their territory, rewarding those with pure hearts and punishing the greedy. The Angate is frequently considered the female counterpart of the Tik Bong, yet another leading creature in Filipino mythology. There are tales of Angate and Tik Bong working together to achieve joint goals, such as protecting hidden treasures or wreaking havoc on those who deserve it. The Angate epitomizes the connection between the human and the natural, the mundane and the magical, and their lore continues to be passed down from generation to generation. Deep in Filipino waters lurk creatures that many consider to be water ghosts. These entities play similar roles to Greek mythology's sirens. They are the CCoy, alluring beings found in both fresh and salt water. The male version is a humanoid with hybrid fish and reptilian features. It would also sport gills on its neck, allowing it to breathe underwater. Females are more human-like, with fish-like tails remarkably like mermaids, except that they have a vent on their back, like dolphins and whales, meaning that they must surface occasionally to breathe. They can change into a full female form to lure their victims closer to the water, but they cannot completely disguise their brine-like scent, so they can be identified and avoided. The CCoy has superhuman strength and speed, which allows it to easily overpower its victims. Females use their charm and melodious singing to attract their victims, whereas males harness supernatural powers that can drive people mad and into deep water for no discernible reason. Once there, they are snatched up by the CCoy, who take them to the depths with no chance of defense. The Sigbin is one more among the frightening vampiric monsters of the Filipino islands. This night predator roams the shadows, preying on its victims and drinking their blood. Its features are hideous. A large creature with dark reddish-brown fur. Its massive ears can flap in such a way that they resemble clapping, having also a long whip-like tail. Its face reminds you of that of an angry bat, with wide, piercing eyes. On top of its fearsome appearance, the Sigbin is known for its backwards gait, with its head tucked between its hind legs. This unusual stride, together with its ability to slip into the shadows, making it incredibly hard to track. Its scavenging behavior is particularly disturbing, as the Sigbin attacks humans and animals alike, sapping their blood and stealing their vital energy. The creepiest Sigbin tales mention that it is most active during Holy Week, which is when it hunts children. Once it has found a vulnerable victim, it cuts open their chest and tears out their heart. The child's organ is added to a necklace, adding it alongside the hearts of the beast's many victims. The Sigbin is seen primarily as a nocturnal predator in some parts of the Philippines, dreaded for its child-hunting ways and its penchant for blood. Elsewhere, it can be seen more as a mystical gatekeeper of forests or mountains, protecting certain areas from trespassers or evil. These different interpretations of the creature are just a taste of how rich the culture and folklore of the Filipino peoples is. A legendary and terrifying creature lies hidden in the Filipino dark and dense forests, the Tik Bong, one of the most famous monsters in Filipino folklore. It is a horrifying creature with a humanoid body and a horse head. Its limbs are exaggeratedly long, its legs end in hooves, and its hands are like twisted claws. This creature is often found in dense forests and remote areas, where it allegedly abides. Its roots can be traced back to the ancient animist beliefs of the indigenous Filipino communities, even if the horse is not a traditional animal in the region. However, folklore in the region was adapted with the blending of various influences brought by the Spanish colonizers. It is a prankster that enjoys playing tricks on people. The Tik Bong enjoys turning travelers off, causing them to get lost in the forest or roam around in circles until they are tired and bewildered, or even attacking them. The monster is attracted to women and may try to charm them. A new Tik Bong can grow out of this relationship. There are lots of different ways to keep oneself safe from the Tik Bong. Some carry special amulets. Others, to avoid its spells, wear their clothes inside out and avoid traveling at night or making noise to disturb it. The Tik Bong is described in some folklore versions as a spirit or forest entity more than a physical creature. It can be a manifestation of the powers of nature, protecting its habitat and maintaining ecological balance. Vampire creatures have been reported in almost every quarter of the globe, and the Filipino archipelago is no exception. The Mananangal is a dark creature from Filipino folklore, a beautiful woman during the day, but at night a hideous, ghoulish creature. The upper part of its trunk splits from the lower part, growing large bat-like wings that allow it to fly. Its insides, including its intestines, dangle from the bottom of its torso, adding to the grotesque and disturbing image of the creature. The Mananangal live in rural areas, hiding in caves, forests, or abandoned houses. With its long, sharp fangs, the Mananangal flies at night, seeking out innocent victims, especially pregnant women and their unborn children. It puts out its elongated tongue, which can stretch quite far, to suck out the blood and entrails of its victims, making them pale and lifeless. Its roots go back to the pre-colonial Philippines, where the Mananangal would be used to account for a variety of misfortunes, such as unexplained deaths and illnesses. The creature's terrifying appearance and predatory nature acted as a warning, prompting people to be vigilant and protective of themselves and their loved ones. The creature seizes its victims at night to drain them of their vital energy. The Mananangal uses its long tongue to break into its victim's body through any available cavity, such as the mouth, nose, ears, and even the most indiscreet cavities. However, like many vampire-like creatures, the Mananangal, in its demonic form, is afraid of and adverse to sunlight, which can turn it to dust, so it reintegrates into its lower self and goes about its days like a normal woman among men. But the Mananangal also has its weaknesses. Its lower half, when left behind, is vulnerable for the whole time it is parted from its upper half. Local people might smear salt, garlic, or ash on the lower part of the unprotected body. These are extremely damaging substances for the Mananangal, preventing it from rejoining its other half and wreaking more havoc the next day, and dooming it to die under the morning sun.
As a mythical creature in Filipino folklore, the Awang shapeshifts and feeds on human flesh and blood, and pregnant women's fetuses. Vampire-like, with a long, thin tongue, to draw children out of their mother's wombs, the creature lusts uncontrollably for raw meat, especially human flesh. Possessing a shapeshifter nature, the Awang is often portrayed as a combination of several supernatural creatures, such as vampires, witches, and werewolves, all of which make it particularly feared in local traditions. It is said to have been an individual who lost control of his spiritual self, allowing its inner darkness to manifest within monstrous forms. The Awang is believed to morph into different forms, such as animals or even other people, to fool its victims. By day, it often impersonates an ordinary human, hiding its true nature and mingling among the locals. Nevertheless, at night, it reveals its ghoulish form and goes on the hunt. One feature common to many tales is its preference for human flesh and blood, particularly that of children or corpses. These creatures dwell in isolated areas, such as forests or cemeteries. They prey on excluded and outcast individuals, such as pregnant women, travelers, and people living on the fringes of communities. The Awangs can also hypnotize their victims, turning them into easy targets. Many distinctive types of the Awang family can be found, each with its own unique features. The most common are the Tik Bong, a half-horse, half-human creature, which supposedly lures the travelers to their doom. The Mananangal, a creature that splits its upper torso from its lower body during the night to fly and attack sleeping victims. The Wakwak, a bird-like creature that allegedly snatches fetuses from pregnant women. The Sigbin, a creature equipped with a long, thin trunk to suck the blood of its victims. And the Amalanhig, a failed Awang that rises from its grave to murder and eat people. The Awang lore has evolved over time, adapting to changing social and cultural backgrounds. Throughout the Spanish colonial period, Awangs were often associated with the devil and evil spirits, mirroring Catholic influence. Some researchers believe that the Aswang legend was magnified during the Spanish colonization of the Philippines to inculcate fear and control in the local population. For protection against an Aswang, items such as garlic, sacred amulets, salt, and prayers are considered efficient to ward it off. Aswangs have become more complex characters in modern times, depicted as tragic figures or even anti-heroes. The Aswang holds a special place in Filipino culture, proving the power of folklore to shape identity, infuse fear and fascination, and promote the Filipino people's cultural values and traditions to this day.
The Mangkulam are the dreaded and powerful witches who practice kulam, the dark magic originating in the Philippines. These witches are most often depicted as old, haggard-looking women with long disheveled hair and sharp nails. The Mangkulam dwell in isolation, in the thick forests or in abandoned houses. One legend has it that the Mangkulam possesses a deep understanding of herbs, potions, and incantations, capable of casting powerful spells that can bring great harm to people. These incantations ranged from minor inconveniences and bad luck to inflicting serious illness or even death. However, they were also looked to for aid in love and to cure grave ailments. The Mangkulam can communicate with spirits and even predict the future, either through prophetic visions or by using strange fortune-telling rituals. It also possesses the power of metamorphosis, transforming itself into animals such as cats or owls, and possessing people's bodies, controlling their minds and actions. Prior to the arrival of the Spanish in the Filipino archipelago, these sorceresses were regarded as powerful shamans. However, their image was gradually distorted over the centuries due to the Christian influence that rejected their magical and supernatural practices. The belief in the Mangkulam is still widespread in many parts of the Philippines, especially in rural areas where the Filipino sorceresses continues to engender fascination and fear. The Capri is a giant living in the trees of the Philippines. It is an enormously large humanoid with dark skin, long unkempt hair, and bushy beards. One remarkable feature of the Capri is that, despite their massive size, they can render themselves invisible to the human eye, adding to their eeriness. The Capri dwells in large ancient trees, especially the ballets, known as prickly pears. They are regarded as sacred in some Filipino cultures. The myth goes that it spends most of its time resting in these trees' branches, sitting and smoking pipes or cigars, watching the world below. The Capri is believed to be capable of shapeshifting, altering its appearance and playing tricks on people, especially unwary travelers. It can lead them astray in the forest or make them disoriented and lost. For all their trickster nature, the Capri are not necessarily evil. They are more curious than anything else and may simply be trying to elicit a reaction from people. In some instances, the Capri can even be helpful to humans, providing guidance and protecting them from danger. Nevertheless, it's important to treat the Capri with respect, as they can get angry or offended if they feel disrespected. Capri are seen in some stories as keepers of forests and ancient trees. They can develop a kind of friendship or affection for specific humans, especially if these people show respect or kindness towards them or nature.